Right then, welcome along everyone to GRS F4. Round 8 takes us to France here at the Circuit Paul Ricard. We've got 10 drivers in attendance today. Going to be a nice and chill race around the French countryside. And everyone decided to ready up as I was refilling my water. So we already have McKenna out on an outlap and well clear of everyone else. Bit of a interesting track. I've never minded the France circuit in any of the F1 games. It's not a standout, but it's not terrible either. It's got its own little quirks. It's got some very deadly curbs, especially turn 2. And coming into the chicane here, see the curbs that the drivers want to go over. We'll see how risky each driver wants to get in pursuit of extra lap time. Bjorn Rasmussen's back in attendance. Haven't seen Alisea in a while back in his Mercedes. Arjun Senapati's here. So we've got ourselves a nice race coming up here. Bastian Vries is here, Kuiker's here, Manuel is here. We'll have some good fights for the front of the field for sure, but we are watching the Williams of McKenna, who is starting our first flying lap of the day. Charging down the pit straight into turn 1. It's a pretty open corner and very easy to take the entry curb. Same with turn 2 that comes right after, but the curb on the right is a little deadly if the driver goes a little bit too much onto it. Then we have the fiddly section of sector 1 heading in through 3, 4, and 5, and then exiting through the long right-hander of 6 and the flat kink of 7 as we see the Williams come back into shot. Opens up onto the back DRS straight. That only gets broken up by the 8-9 chicane. I'm surprised there's not a 10 at the end of the chicane as well, but that's the right-hander afterwards that I'm seeing. Eating the curb on the inside, every driver will be doing that, and then, like I said, we'll see how aggressive they want to be on the curbs as they get the power down for the shorter run to turn 10. Flat right-hander. We might see some people try to go for overtakes here, but it's one of those corners that's a little dangerous. Then we have the very, very long kind of bowl section of 11. That is a very late apex as it closes up on the driver. Same thing with 12. A little off camber cresting the hill. Not much grip to be found as the driver's trying to get the car closer and closer to the apex throughout the corner. Sort of similar through 14, and then we have the hairpin of 15 that opens up onto the pit straight once again for McKenna to finish the first lap. And what do we have? We have a 132.8 for the first lap of the day. Bastian Vries is on an out lap. We have the Alpine of Jack Cockane that will be the next across the line on a flyer. Heading through the final couple of corners now, maximizing the amount of track taken for the most part. And crosses the line to take P1 by well over a second and a half, it looks like. And then Jamie Pywell comes back and takes P1 with a 130.8. Got his teammate Charlie Gordon and Arjun Senapati about to start another push lap. Vries is on one. How about Kuiker? Rounding the hairpin now. DRS open, running across the line. Is it going to be good enough for P1? No. 100th off from Jamie Pywell's time. So very, very close between the two of them. And where is his teammate? Bastian Vries coming through sector 3 now. Through the flat right-hander of 13. And then another late apex for 14. It's one of the quirks around France. The sector 3 is pretty much all late apexes. Not diving the car in straight away and having to turn it in throughout the corner. presents its own little challenge there. As Vries crosses the line for P4. And McKenna on a recharge lap, I would assume. And how about Manuel Olami, who's heading through Sector 3 now as well? Pretty much everyone on track at the same time. But he is going into the pit lane. Arjun Senapati has been on a flying lap this entire time. He's heading through Sector 3 as we speak. He's had a pretty much faultless run of form since the beginning of the season when he debuted. And jumps up to the top of the timing tower of the 130.2. That is about, what, 0.6 faster than Pywell's time so far. Next across the line will be Bjorn Rasmussen for the beginning of his lap. I think we're right on board. Take a POV of what the drivers are seeing out here in France. Very flat circuit for the most part, just very gentle undulations throughout some of the corners, but like I said, very big curves that are generally easy to take and cut and exploit as much as possible. Not a whole lot of traction to be found, however, on the exit of 5 and 6 that we just went through. Might catch a couple drivers off guard during the race, especially as the tires start to degrade. And then a very fast entry into 8 and 9, the chicane. Electing not to take the curb on the inside so as not to unsettle the car. But the curbs throughout the chicane are a little bit flatter than the entry. Looking to be a good Sector 2 for Rasmussen as he's rounding the flat right-hander of 10 and then throwing it in, slowing it down very gradually for 11, as is the racing line. Same idea with 12. See the very late hit of the apex there. Curb juts up there as the car wants to hit the apex, so the driver does need to be aware that they don't actually want to clatter the curb there on the inside of 12. Then we're heading through the hairpin once again to finish off the lap for Bjorn Rasmussen, his first of the day. And what's it going to be for him? Jumps up to P7 with a 134.4. So it's a surprising spread of times, which is somewhat unusual for GRS F4. We'll have to see if that goes down at all. But Alisea is on his first lap as well, heading through Sector 3. Through 11 now. Seem to have some very good pace in the opening couple of rounds, especially in Las Vegas, did Alisea, but haven't really seen that form in recent races. Been hoping to see him bounce back a little bit. Challenge the likes of Stenapati and Kuiker for race leading and wins. Jumps up to P2 though, not too far off of Arjun. Well, it is about 0.4, but still 0.2 faster than Pywell was able to manage so far, who I believe is on a lap right now to improve his time. So we'll stay on board with the McLaren driver, looking to improve from his 130.8, and invalidates through the short straight between turns 2 and 3, which is an interesting place to invalidate for sure, but he'll have to go again. Anyone else on a flyer? I think everyone's pretty much on an in lap. Cockane is about to go on a flyer though, so we'll watch the Alpine driver heading through 1 now. It's pretty much a 90-degree corner, give or take, is turn 1, but it's very, very wide. So 5th gear taken for Cockane, so it is a very fast turn 1 and 2. Is a little bit more open than 90 degrees, but the track is very wide, we'll say that. Generally good for racing, which is good for us. Charging down the back straight towards the chicane. Be a little difficult to pull off an overtake into the braking zone, as the track does narrow quite a bit at the chicane. So we'll have to see how easy drivers can actually take positions under braking, but for the most part, is probably just going to be using that DRS. And there might even be a difference in setups, as some drivers might want to maximize the end of Sector 1 as well as Sector 3 and put on a high downforce setup. But there are some very long straights, that DRS straight in the back, the pit straight down the front, and a couple shorter ones as well, so we might see some very, very low downforce setups. I think Jack Cockane is about to go on another push lap, as he was pretty much not using battery for the bulk of that. Kuiker, however, is heading into Sector 3 now, so we'll jump back to him, currently improving by 0.3, says the Delta. Currently P4. And loving that Ferrari livery this week that Codemasters decided to put in for Ferrari. Looking great. Love the yellow accents. Think it all works very, very nicely. But Kuiker does invalidate through turns 12 and 13, so we'll hop on with his teammate on an outlap. We'll see, is anyone else? Nope, everyone else is on an in or an outlap. How's Cockane getting on with things? Using some battery this time around, so might just have wanted to warm up laps. However, just as I hop on board with him, I'm sorry, he does invalidate through the back straight chicane. Kuiker into the pit lane, and his teammate Bastian restarting a lap. However, unfortunately, falling foul of track limits is Bastian Vries as well. We'll have to see how well the drivers can handle themselves in the race, as 3 of those track limits will not only invalidate their attempts for a fastest lap, but will give them a 3-second penalty. So the better positions at the end of the race might just go to those who stay within the track limits, keep their heads down. At least we know none of our drivers are on Colombian marching powder. They just can't handle the white lines. I've never heard such a thing referred to as Colombian marching powder, but that makes sense. Arjun Senapati in the Colombian marching powder colored car is heading through turn 11 right now. Currently P1 with a 130.2. Can't handle the white lines. Alright, Senapati is rounding the final corner, charging up to the finish line. And what is it going to be for him? 0.2 of an improvement, almost a 130 flat overall. So 0.6 faster than Alicea in second place. So a very mighty lap there from the Haas driver. Under 5 minutes left to go. Charlie Gordon sliding his way through turn 6. Like I said before, not much traction to be found on the exit of 5 and 6 at the end of Sector 1 and beginning of Sector 2. So that might just see Gordon give up on this particular lap. Doesn't have to be the case. How is McKenna doing right behind, heading through the chicane now? Looks to take the curbs quite nicely. And I didn't think to look at the delta time at the top right, so we're just gonna stay on board. Through 11 we go. Alicea and Kuiker on outlaps. Kuiker just starting his lap, so I'll jump on with him next as McKenna's rounding the final corner for the pit straight. DRS wide open, battery almost empty, crossing the line, currently P8, and doesn't find any improvement. So that might just be qualifying over for McKenna. Dave Kuiker is rounding turn 6 now. where we saw Charlie Gordon lose his rear traction. Hello to you, Mitch, in the YouTube chat. And I have a nice and soothing F4 race today. Hopefully. I mean, maybe there will be some grand antics gotten up to by some of the drivers, but the barriers are quite far away, so we might not see many DNFs and safety cars. And I don't think Quill is actually going to be racing. I've seen that he's just popped up on the timing tower there. Maybe just a bit too quick for F4, I would think. But guaranteed points for our F4 runners, as there are only 10 starters. Kuliker being one of them and charging for pole as he's heading through the final few corners now, currently P4. And wanting that top spot held by Arjun Senapati. What is it going to be for Kuliker? Saw that he was on an improvement, crosses the line, almost 2/10 improvement, still 6/10 away from Arjun Senapati's provisional pole time. Aliseo will be starting his lap next, so we'll keep an eye on the timing tower. I want to see how the front runners get on with their laps, though. Aliseo late braking into turn 1, eating the curb on the inside. Being careful through 2, just a bit of a lift there so as not to unsettle the car too much over the curbs. Then everyone getting out of the way nicely enough. Down through the gears for 3 and 4, and then even more so for 5, and then back up through 6. Small improvement through Sector 1 so far, finds the Mercedes driver. Will need 0.02 of a second to take Kuliker's second place, which is certainly possible for the Mercedes driver, although needs well over half a second for Arjun Senapati's pole time, which may prove to be a bit of a challenge. But through the chicane, Aliseo goes. Almost 1/10 of an improvement, but we'll need to find a little bit more pace through Sector 3 to be comfortably ahead of Kuliker. Heading through 11 now, high revs in 4th gear. Breaking it down through 12. Bumping the brakes there, I think I saw on the HUD. Trying to get the car turned into 12. Same idea, interesting there through 14. So rounding the final corner, easy on the power. Charging up to the line. Is Aliseo going to get second? And he does by a couple of tenths from Kuliker. Checkered flag has fallen. Kuliker is not on another push lap. The next person to be on one, I think, will be Jack Cockayne. So we'll see how he gets on with Sector 3. Currently P6. I think Bastian Vries is right ahead of him, so we'll jump on over to him. Heading through 12 now. And rounding the final corner is Bastian Vries, currently P7. Is he going to jump up at all? Pips his teammate even. P3 for Bastian Vries, finding a huge improvement. Jack Cockayne will be next across the line. And where did he qualify? P6. So we'll get the official results here in a moment. Arjun Senapati taking a very, very big margin. Taking pole by a large margin, I should say. From Taylor Aliseo right behind. Bastian Vries in third, right ahead of Dave Kuliker. So a good qualifying day for Ferrari so far. Jamie Pywell in 5th, Cockayne in 6th, Manuel Olami 7th for Alfa Romeo. Said that he wasn't feeling too confident around France, and I think that is starting to show. Charlie Gordon in 8th for McLaren, 9th for McKenna, and rounding us out today is Bjorn Rasmussen and Alpha Tauri. So we're going to get the race underway here in a moment's time. Stay tuned and all that fun stuff. See how racy everyone wants to get through turns 1 and 2. Like I said, track is very wide. Could even see some side-by-side through 3, 4, and 5. Definitely not out of the question. It's always sort of annoying having a track that has a terrible turn 1 for racing, like the likes of Baku. always horrible. Turns 1 and 2. What's another one? Silverstone's very good. Spa's not the greatest for turn 1, but at least it's very, very wide. But short runs and tight corners, not really a good mix. France will have a pretty long run. Very wide corner through 1 and 2, so we'll see some action here as soon as the lights go out. And we're on the grid already. 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights are on, and we are racing in France already. Arjun Senapati seemed to get a much better start than Taylor Alicea, who is coming under pressure from Bastien Vries. Although, did Arjun Senapati just disconnect at the beginning of the race? Alicea takes the lead from Bastien Vries. Pywell was able to split the 2 Ferraris as Arjun is relegated all the way down to 5th. Manuel Olami in 6th will be looking to get through his ghosted car, and does so. There's the predicted strategies, soft or mediums. And we bring up the tire detail. We're seeing softs and mediums. Imagine that. Further up the field, though, Kuiker and Pywell trying to make a move on Bastien Vries even into the chicane, not finding enough space there. Slots in behind, trying to make those soft tires work. We'll have much better speed through some of the corners. Senapati's still down there in his AI car as Charlie Gordon gets past. But I was just saying that I was looking for a return to form from Taylor Alicea, who showed some great pace at the beginning of the season. Currently holds the lead of the race from the likes of Bastien Vries, and Kuiker getting passed by Olami there. Might have been a big mistake there from Kuiker, as Olami has charged his way all the way up into 4th place at the end of lap 1. Alicea still leads from Bastien Vries and Jamie Pywell. Arjun now finally at the back end of the field. P10 for him. Although if anyone could charge up from P10 when he reconnects, I would put my money on Arjun. Showing some incredible pace so far. But the field's starting to spread out already now. Manuel Olami dropping back a little bit from the likes of Pywell, who is fighting quite hard with Bastien Vries. Will take a ride on board. Already burnt through most of his battery, as he is attempting to chase down the Ferrari ahead of him. A little wide there at the apex of the chicane. Will hurt him on the exit there. And now Olami starting to hold up Kuiker and Charlie Gordon even, right behind him. Is Kuiker having a little look down the inside, maybe just spotting the racing line, and carrying a lot more speed through turn 10. And as they break into 11, Kuiker's going to shoot for that inside line, very wide there from Manuel Olami. They're going to be side by side on the exit as they're heading into 12, but Olami's going to switch to the inside and keeps that position from Kuiker. Very nice defending there, and way over the curbs was Kuiker. Charlie Gordon seemed to be wanting a piece of this action, but didn't lunge for any ridiculous maneuvers. All of this fighting is bringing the rest of the field right behind Olami and Kuiker into play. Manuel maybe not fighting this one super hard anymore, as into turn 1, Dave Kuiker regains 4th position. And over the curbs we go. Back up near the front of the field, 2 major fights to keep our eyes on. Pywell trying to chase down the Ferrari ahead of him. So far not finding much luck, as he was very, very wide through turn 6. DRS enabled now. Alicea will be under a lot of pressure. But Pywell getting his braking all wrong into the chicane. Goes a little deep on entry. Kuiker still holds from Manuel Olami and Charlie Gordon. No big changes in position so far. As Bastien Vries is inching ever closer to Taylor Alicea. And I see the harvesting light going on already on the back of that Mercedes, so he's been deploying a lot of electrical energy. Certainly won't be the only one today. But does Bastian Vries smell blood in the water? Can he shoot for pole? Not for pole, for the lead of the race. As Pywell having another look down the inside at the hairpin, gotten himself back up to the back of Bastian Vries. Seeing further back, a couple drivers getting a little squirrely on the power. As I wouldn't mind fixed camera angles to view all of these fights from. But Olami looking very racy actually, and trying to get that position back from Cooker that he lost. Maybe realizing that he should have defended a little harder. Or just finding a lot of pace in the slipstream and the DRS. As I'm sure is probably the case around France. And this think he's going for it, having a nose down the inside at the chicane. And as they reach the braking zone, Manuel Olami is once again ahead of Kuiker and into 4th position. Arjun Senapati did rejoin, saw it flash up at the bottom of the screen. Has a 7-second gap to Bjorn Rasmussen ahead of him. So we'll have to see how he can get on with this. Side by side once again, Kuiker and Olami. Is Kuiker going to look for the inside for 11? Didn't find it there. Olami is staying ahead, as Cockayne is right on the back of Gordon as well. So he'll be looking for a position. So now we've got 3 major fights to keep our eyes on. As they're heading into the first DRS straight of the lap. No DRS for Manuel, of course, leading this little train, but not close enough was Kuiker to make any moves. As Pywell is the first one to fall foul of the track limits in his pursuit of Bastian Vries, picks up a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. Currently wouldn't relegate him down any positions would the race end right now, but you never know what will happen at the end, and Jack Cockayne has lost his Alpine as he was applying the power out of 6 onto the back straight here, going to lose positions to everyone who was behind him. McKenna's through. Bjorn Rasmussen is through, and Arjun Senapati will have quite a bit more momentum heading down the back straight, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to be able to make many moves there into the chicane. As Bastian Vries is still right up on the back of Taylor Alicea. Had a look down the inside, but backed out of that one. Pywell still hanging within a second, but not close enough to put much pressure on Bastian Vries, so he can just focus his efforts forward. And they're heading out of the hairpin now. Still harvesting is that Mercedes, but it seems to be getting a good enough exit out of all of these corners to keep Bastian Vries at bay. As I see Arjun Senapati recently reconnected, has gotten past his first car of the day. Jack Cockayne relegated now down to last after that mistake out of 6. And we're on to the main DRS straight now. And Vries is going for it. He's charged up enough battery, and he executes the overtake perfectly. Alicea tried to defend the inside, but Bastian Vries simply too fast on the DRS straight. Takes the lead of the race. Alicea trying to follow him through the dirty air in the chicane. Does pick up a track limits penalty now. Only our second driver to do so, but it's only lap 6 of 27. So a lot can happen. And already I'm seeing Arjun is right behind Bjorn Rasmussen on the track map. Alicea is trying to fight this one back as best as he can. Wants another win in F4. And very squirrely on the curbs there was Alisea. Couldn't save his Mercedes, has lost his right-hand end plate as he was trying to get the power down on the exit of the final corner. And we'll be having to probably make a very early pit stop as he cedes position to Pywell. Not wanting to fight anyone super hard with a broken front wing. Relieves a lot of pressure from the rear of Bastion Rees, though, as his teammate picks up a penalty for track limits as well. Now Alisea ahead of Olami. Still has the right to the racing line, but doesn't want to be doing anything too unsporting, as Olami is now through, and Alisea slots in between the two drivers that were fighting for most of the beginning of the race. As I'm seeing a pass for position, Jack Cockane on Bjorn Rasmussen, and as they head into shot now through the chicane, Cockane is ahead. Pretty much the worst spot to pick up any damage that a driver would want to pit for is Alisea right after the pit entry. Did break his front wing, so has to go most of an entire lap with a damaged front wing, and will be our first pit stop of the day, and unfortunately is not on strategy. Will this be hards to the end? Will it be softs in hope of a late safety car? I assume it will be hards to the end. It will be softs, actually. I was wrong. Very interesting. So going for the two-stop strategy, maybe realize that the softs would, or the hards would be too slow near the end of the stint. So we'll have to see how Alisea gets on with the rest of his race. He's going to have the best tires of any driver, although we'll have quite the gap between himself and the next driver up the road of Rasmussen. Manuel Olami now running in a net second place, I believe. But very much under pressure from Kuiker, who wanted the inside at the chicane. Space given by the Alfa Romeo driver, but not a position found. Maybe a better exit, though, did Kuiker have out of the exit of the chicane. He's going to make it side by side into 10. And as they head through it, Kuiker is up ahead of Manuel Olami. So these two swapping positions once again. Of course, the two drivers ahead of Olami, being Kuiker and Pywell, have track limits penalties. And I'm seeing that, yep, Alisea is getting past Rasmussen there. Saw a couple local yellow flags for Rasmussen. Not sure what has befell him. As Pywell is into the pit lane to get rid of the softs, McKenna has a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane to get rid of her softs. And while this is happening, Manuel and Kuiker still nose to tail through Sector 1. So does that mean that the soft runners are going to run the mediums to the end? If the softs could only manage about 8 or 9 laps, it's going to be, what, another 18 laps to the end? Not entirely certain. Side by side, once again, these two go. Space given between the two of them. Very respectful driving. But as I said that, was that contact between the two of them as they headed out of the chicane? Not entirely certain, as the camera angle did not show a whole lot for us. But I did see that Kuiker was off the track. And what is happening to Bjorn Rasmussen as he is driving through every single marshal's post, and they are all waving the yellow flag for him? Not entirely certain. But the gap between Bastian Vries and Dave Kuiker for the lead of the race is nearing 6 seconds. And they're only gonna lose time fighting each other, Will Kuiker and Olami. So their chances of a race victory are looking quite slim without a safety car to bring them back up to the front of the field. And with a wide and open track like France and with only 10 drivers, I would not be expecting many. Charlie Gordon onto the hard tires, so asking the same questions that I just was, will the medium be able to get to the end of the race? So opting for hard tires does Charlie Gordon. LSA ahead has 2-lap older soft tires, so I would assume that he will be in for another stop near the end of the race. But we'll see. 17 laps still left to go, as side by side once again through the chicane are Olami and Kuiker. These two giving us all of our entertainment today. And Kuiker cuts ahead and still is in front of his Alfa Romeo rival as they head through into 11. And they're heading out nose to tail still, so whichever driver gets ahead does not have quite enough pace to break the slipstream or the DRS of the other driver. And they are just sticking to each other's rear diffusers and swapping positions. Great to see. There is Bjorn Rasmussen getting lapped. Pywell setting the fastest lap of the race on new medium tires. Currently sitting P5 and chasing down Jack Cockayne for P4. Cockayne yet to pit, so those mediums are going to be much fresher on Pywell's McLaren. Making up a lot of ground already and will be right behind his rival through... What have I just seen here? A local yellow flag for Arjun Senapati through turn 2, said that the curb is a little deadly. And, well, I think that's only our first victim of it today. As Pywell is shooting down the inside at the chicane, Cockayne was not about to give that one up. With a superior grip on those new medium tires, means Jamie Pywell is through and up into 4th position. Does have a track limits penalty, but being off strategy, one never really knows how much of a gap they can make behind themselves to nullify the effects of that. As into the pit lane, just as I cut to him, is Manuel Olami for Alfa Romeo. Is he looking to undercut Dave Kuiker? I would not be surprised at all, as they have only been tripping over each other, trying to get ahead of each other. Has been fun to watch, but it is maybe not the best for either of the races. And onto the hard tires then. So, interesting to see that some of our soft runners in a couple of laps ago opted for the medium tires, which I would assume would go to the end of the race, or they would try to extend to the end of the race. But Manuel Olami coming in, pitting from mediums to hards, as Alessio was getting past Rasmussen there. It's a Ferrari 1-2, but we'll have to see how that strategy plays out on Olami's part. Alisea so far having a halfway decent recovery drive up into P5 with those soft tires. Only 4 laps ago that he pitted. But we'll see if he can hold on to them. More local yellows. That is still Rasmussen just getting out of everyone's way. And will now be lapped by the person who is 1 place ahead of him. Or will be lapped next by the person who is 1 place ahead of him. Arjun Senapati. Not finding his way past many people today, after he was disconnected from pole position. Now Kuiker is in to cover off the undercut from Olami, so we'll hop on board with Manuel. And I would assume that he is going to be a little ways ahead of his Ferrari rival as he passes pit exit. There he is. And still behind at turn 1 is Manuel Olami. The undercut didn't work, which is very surprising to me at least, as they are exactly as they were before Manuel went into the pit lane. So Kuiker having a little bit of hidden pace maybe up his sleeve that he just decided to deploy to try and cover off the undercut. Still though, Kuiker's going to have slightly colder tires, as he did just come out of the pit lane, and Manuel does not want to stay behind him for 1 second longer than he has to, is shooting for this position as they head into the braking zone for the chicane. Manuel Olami is ahead on track, but I can assure you that Kuiker will be fighting this one back. Meanwhile, his teammate has quite a, pit lane speeding penalty as he goes in to change off of his 12-lap old medium tires. From the lead of the race, changes onto the hards as well. Further making me question the strategy decisions of drivers such as Pinewell, currently running second, who went soft medium 4 laps ago. And LSA is in for his second stop, but the day is only getting worse as he also falls foul of a pit lane speeding penalty. So those softs not really lasting too long, and going onto the hard compounds now, so doesn't have another set of medium tires that I was somewhat expecting. Seeing some very interesting strategy decisions today from our drivers. It's going to take I don't know how to do math, but it's going to take a few more laps until we figure out who actually has the right strategy call, as it's only lap 14 of 27. 13 more laps. Does that mean we're about halfway through? I think so. 14 laps completed, 13 left. Or is it technically 14 left because lap 27 still counts? I would assume we're halfway through now. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We are still a ways away from the end of the race, and we have yet to see which strategy call turns out to be the best. I'll quickly bring up the penalty graphic so we can see who has track limits, who has pit lane speeding penalties, and who has both. I think I was about to say pit sane leading penalties. But anyway, we're watching Manuel Olami, who is still ahead of Kuiker and running in a net P2. And depending on how strategies play out, could be P1 by the end of the race on penalties. Remains to be seen. Just food for thought there. At the beginning of the broadcast, I was saying that track limits penalties are somewhat common around France, as there are no barriers to deter the driver. And of course, they do want to be using as much of the track as possible. So we'll see how good of a position Olami can get with his consistent driving as he gets passed once again by Kuiker on the back straight. As Alisea also got himself another penalty. Down to 9th position, and it's not looking to be a great weekend for Alisea. Had a very good qualifying, but one mistake is pretty much all it took. Around this stage that it becomes a race of attrition. Making no mistakes, keeping up a consistent pace, making sure that there are no track limits penalties coming the driver's way. As Arjun Senapati has closed up to the rear of Charlie Gordon. Didn't have it through the DRS detection point, though. And furthermore, is harvesting battery through some of the fast straights here, so he has been pushing very hard to get back up to 6th position where he currently is. And is on a tire that could bring him to the end of the race. So, wouldn't be the best race, but still wouldn't be the worst outcome possible for Senapati today, as he is looking to get past Charlie Gordon for 5th position, and does so with the aid of DRS heading into the chicane. Arjun Senapati up into 5th. Is Gordon looking to fight this one back? Has a slipstream and has a look down the inside for turn 10. Makes it side by side and gets back past Arjun Senapati for 5th position. Is Arjun going to have a look down the inside of 11, do we think? He's looking for it. Charlie Gordon was a little wide, but he's going to have the inside for 12. And it's difficult to make a sweep around the outside of 12, but a little too much speed carried in for Gordon. Means that Senapati can keep on the rear of that McLaren. But not oh, a big lunge there from Senapati, desperate to get past Charlie Gordon, but did not slow his halves down enough to get through the hairpin nicely enough, and still stays behind Gordon. Deploying his battery and opening his DRS through the pit straight, got him up right to the rear wing, but not close enough to make a move. And we see Charlie Gordon is also harvesting energy, so they are giving it absolutely everything for 5th position. And down the inside, Arjun Senapati shoots his shot, maybe catching Charlie Gordon sleeping a little bit there. Or was that purposeful? Did Charlie Gordon want the DRS? It's somewhat powerful down this long straight. Arjun weaving a little bit to break the toe. Nothing outside of the confines of the rules. Charlie Gordon has a look down the inside into the chicane, brakes later, and gets himself back ahead of Arjun. Once again, having a look down the inside of 11. Having to slow it down early did Arjun Senapati, but still couldn't find enough to make an overtake. Sees a gap down the inside of 12 as they exit. Trying to make his halves side by side as best as he can. We'll get to the fight at the front in just a moment, as Bastian Vries and Jamie Pywell are fighting it out. Arjun shoots for it again at the hairpin, but Charlie Gordon doing very well to defend. Lets his rival kind of biff the entry there. Goes a little wide himself and focuses on the exit as they're making it side by side through turn 1. Arjun Senapati with enough of a DRS and ERS combination to get himself past. Meanwhile, Bastian Vries and Jamie Pywell fighting it out for the very lead of the race. On the outside is Bastian Vries, and he's going to have this position heading into the chicane. Don't remember what the gap was beforehand, and well, I feel like I remember it being quite a bit. But let's see, that's not the one I want. I want penalties. How are we on penalties? Bastian Vries does need to clear Pywell by 5 seconds to keep the lead of the race. You know, Kuiker didn't even realize has another track limits penalty coming his way. So Manuel might just want to back out a little bit, although he does want to be close enough to maybe take advantage of some of the penalties of the likes of Vries and Pywell. They keep going at it like this. And Pywell into the pit lane now. On only 9-lap-old medium tires, which I would assume would have a halfway decent deal of pace, but he is electing for soft tires. Interesting. Meanwhile, the day is only getting worse for Taylor Aliseo, who finds himself facing the wrong way on the exit of turn 12. as Senapati and Gordon are still fighting it out for P5. Well, it's going to be P4 now with Pyle making that pit stop, although he's going to be out of the pit lane. Not too far behind his teammate, but quite a ways away from track limits on the exit of 2. Gordon now finds himself with a track limits penalty of his own in his pursuit of Arjun Senapati. Pywell also finding himself with a 3-second time penalty, so the warnings are adding up for our drivers today. And we'll have to see what sort of team play we see at the McLaren outfit between these two drivers on very, very different strategies. Is Gordon going to let his teammate through, or is he going to fight him just as hard as he did with Senapati? I think either way, Pyle is going to have a massive grip advantage on new softs. Now we're just looking, and while Alami's still keeping himself within touching distance of Kuiker, we'll see the penalty that Vries is going to have, which is 8 seconds, and Manuel knows that he is well within that window. So Manuel Alami, for what it's worth, is running a net P1 right now on penalties, with Bastian Vries having 8 seconds and Dave Kuiker having 6 seconds, and those being the only drivers ahead of him. So maybe he knows that he can just keep it clean, stay behind Kuiker, and get the lead of the race. Charlie Gordon did give the position to his McLaren teammate, and Arjun Senapati, I don't think was wanting to give the position to Pywell, but did so as he was very wide out of 6. And once again, Jack Hake not able to find enough traction on the exit of 6. Although Arjun is back ahead. Was that DRS gamesmanship? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know who had the DRS, but regardless, Arjun Senapati is back up into 4th place. And I think it's only a matter of time before Pywell gets past, honestly, as both of them are running out of battery, but Pywell will not be running out of tire anytime soon. Although he will go very wide on the exit of 11. Once again, Arjun sticks his nose down the inside, doesn't find a pass for position. And now has Charlie Gordon right behind him. It's a hash sandwich on McLaren bread, as they say. And Pywell is starting to disappear off into the distance, or at least make himself a nice manageable gap between himself and Senapati. Still nose to tail are Olami and Kuiker. Olami knows what he's doing. Although he is going for a move here. Has a very good run out of 6 and 7. Has the DRS. And has the position on track. And can comfortably chase down Bastian Vries, depending on how much he wants to defend from Kuiker, but that pass wouldn't have lost him any time. Alisea has retired from the session, and the safety car is out. Where is Alisea? I don't even see his dot on the map. He must have been recovered by the marshals as soon as he retired. Do we see any debris? Any front wings? Anything that looks vaguely Mercedes-shaped, colored, scented, anything like that? Not really. Couldn't tell you what happened to Taylor Alisea, but we have a safety car here on lap 21 of 27. And Manuel Olami has a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane, which is the last thing he needed right now, as he is trying to get as many positions as possible on virtue of not having those penalties. Still will go on to a new set of soft tires, as will probably everyone in the race. Except for Pywell, who has 2-lap-old soft tires, who is probably not too happy seeing all of his rivals getting a very nice pit stop. Although, 3-lap softs now. 3-lap old softs. Inherits the lead of the race. Olami's second. Oh, because Vries was able to serve his penalty? Is that true? Yes. Vries was able to serve his penalty. And I'm not entirely certain why that is, because, well, we're under a safety car. Vries was able to serve his penalty, and now the momentum of gaining positions on virtue of penalties has swung completely the opposite direction, going from the favor of Olami to the favor of Bastian Vries for the lead of the race. Has the fewest seconds of time penalty of the top 5. Arjun Senapati will be very, very happy to see the safety car come out and see himself with new soft tires, as he is the first one and one of 2 drivers so far without any penalties at all. So he will try and cut his way through the field. Could rescue a win out of this. Very possible at this point in the race. We know his pace, and we know how he doesn't have any penalties right now. It all depends on how everything goes. McKenna in the middle of this pack, elected not to pit, or maybe was not able to pit. Although I would assume he was able to pit. Not entirely certain. Let's see if she goes in this lap. But it might just be a bit of a roadblock to some of the people behind, such as Arjun Senapati. But I have a feeling that 13-lap-old mediums are not going to be a match for more than one corner for the likes of new softs. And I was taking a slow scroll through the timing tower. I see that McKenna has gotten herself a time penalty for a collision with Kuiker. Saw a couple of them go deep on the brakes into the chicane, as the safety car will be taking that many times more slowly than a Formula 1 car. McKenna might or might not be reporting that to get that removed. Who really knows? As it stands, is still looking to get swallowed up by the field of new soft runners. Safety car is in this lap as Rasmussen is heading up to the back of the field, the tail of the safety car train. And now it is up to Jamie Pywell, of all people, to restart us for the French Grand Prix. And taking it nice and slow is Pywell, as I'm sure approximately 0 people behind him will be too happy about the pace of this safety car restart. And Olami is just about pushing him through the final corner. And we are racing once again in France. As the two Ferraris are looking side by side already into turn 1, are they trying to swap positions on purpose? That might just be the case. However, I think Kuiker has more penalties. Arjun Senapati is looking to get past as many people as possible, clears McKenna quickly. Jamie Pywell finally gets himself, or doesn't finally get himself, but gets himself another time penalty for track limits, and Senapati is now right on the back of Bastian Vries. Gordon getting past McKenna as well, and Cockayne will be the next person to do so as they head onto the back straight here. And is Manuel Olami looking for the lead of the race on track? He is not. I was trying to say going and looking at the same time. Arjun Senapati looking for a move through the chicane, gets it done on Bastian Vries, but still holding it side by side with him as they're heading into 10. And well, we've seen this a few times before, but I think usually it's Arjun on the inside, and Bastian Vries backs out of that one long before they get to the corner of turn 11, so not wanting to fight him at all. Senapati already all the way up to 4th, and we'll be charging down Kuiker and Pywell and Olami. Bring up the penalty graphic once again, and we'll make the gap to the leader. Arjun Senapati does have P1 on penalties as it stands, so Manuel just needs to put in as fast of a 2 laps as he possibly can for the rest of the race, and hope that Senapati gets blocked by the likes of Kuiker and Pywell, who will be fighting over their own little squabbles, although Kuiker will have that position from Pywell on penalties as well. However, if any racing driver is presented with a chance to overtake on track instead of on penalties, I think they will do so. Kuiker being one of them, heading down the inside into the chicane. Pywell tries to keep it side by side and forces Kuiker to teleport back in time, which means that he is losing out to not only Pywell but also Senapati, as they are just about making it 3 wide into 10. Pywell backs out of that one, and Kuiker swoops around the outside and regains that position. Senapati now will be chasing down Kuiker. Still comfortably has that P1 on penalties. Manuel is still going to give it everything, as we see Arjun has pretty much burned through most of his battery. Not much left, and side by side between Vries and Pywell. I think Pywell backs out of that one. Does Senapati try and play it safe, or does he want this position on track? I would assume he's going to go for it on track, as he's not one to wait around. Who knows what sort of steward decisions could be made if any penalties were to be granted or removed from some of the drivers, so it's always good to be safe, as Senapati makes a look down the inside at the chicane. Kuiker fending him off as much as he can, might have just forced him off track a little bit there, but wouldn't have lost much time with Senapati. Tucks in for the slipstream behind the rear wing of Kuiker, and might look for his signature lunge down into turn 11, and had a little look of it there. Didn't quite find it. This is exactly what Manuel would have wanted, as the gap is starting to grow between himself and Senapati. There's going to be one more lap as Manuel is rounding the hairpin for the final time this race. And all he wants is for Arjun and Kuiker to trip over each other as much as possible so that Manuel can run away with this one. Needs to gain a second and a bit on this lap. Can he do it as Arjun goes a little deep into turn 1? Has to lift over 2. We're going to stay on board with the Haas because this is essentially the race for the lead. Gap is staying the same just about. Arjun, oh, Kuiker with a mistake on the exit of 6. Arjun had to check up for that one. Gap is a little bit over 4 seconds now. Manuel needs another second, though, to keep his first position. Arjun being forced to the outside of the chicane and is not quite alongside enough to make that stick. And Arjun Senapati gets a 3-second time penalty. That's exactly what Manuel Alami would have wanted to see on his timing tower. Although I think Senapati will argue that he would have been pushed wide there, as Kuiker might just know that his rival there is looking for the win of the race on penalties and was looking to race him very, very hard. We will have to see what happens after the race. But for the moment, Manuel Olami is heading through Sector 3, has himself clear of any penalties. Well, he's not clear of any penalties, but he's clear of the rest of the field on penalties, and he's rounding the hairpin for the final time this race. Manuel Olami, who said he wasn't feeling very confident around France, takes the win here in GRS F4, followed by Kuiker on track. Arjun Senapati will take P2 on penalties. Bastian Vries follows his teammate through. It's a Ferrari 3 and 4. No, it's not. Jack Cockayne did not have that many penalties. Jack Cockayne with a podium out of nowhere. I was not at all privy to his situation in this race, as he is, well, on track quite a ways behind everyone else. So it's going to be a Ferrari 4 and 5, followed by Charlie Gordon and Pywell. So it's a McLaren 6 and 7. McKenna will be finishing at some point, P8. And then Bjorn Rasmussen is here and might probably get some points, as I don't think he got disconnected throughout the race, but he was ghosted there. So we'll get the official results, and we'll definitely take a scroll through the incident screen of the race director. Driver of the day, Manuel Alami, can't argue with that one. But I think Arjun will be making an argument to the stewards. Well, at the beginning of the broadcast, I was expecting a kind of a, what's the word? Nice, calm, not very chaotic French Grand Prix. But everyone was indeed racing each other as hard as possible today. And we got a lot of action out of it with only 10 starters. It was a very fun watch for sure. So here's the official results. Manuel Alami winning it from Senapati. Jack Cockayne finishing on the podium after starting 6th and spinning twice on the exit of turn 6. Dave Kuiker finishing 4th, not where he would have wanted to be today. Bastian Vries, his teammate, finishing right behind him in P5. That's the real Nicky Lauda. Charlie Gordon, P6. Jamie Pyle, P7. McKenna, P8. And Bjorn Rasmussen rounding out the finishers in P9. Was a DNF for Alisea. Didn't catch what happened to him. And, well, I think Quill is just completely washed, as he was nowhere near anyone else this race. Too much pace for F4 for him. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for us today. Tune in next week, same time, same channel, for another great race of epic proportions here in GRS F4. Appreciate everyone for watching, and we will see you next time. Peace out.